Kitco Mining's special coverage of Resourcing Tomorrow is brought to you by Discovery Group.
Hello and welcome back to Kitco Mining with me, Paul Harris. We are at the Mines and Money event in London, and today we're talking about base metals, and I'm joined by Brandon Macdonald, President and CEO of Fireweed Metals. Good afternoon, Brandon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good to be here.
I imagine you're the happiest person in this business design centre, Brandon. You've just announced an upsized financing which has just been upsized to 35 million Canadian dollars with a lead order of $20 million from the Lundin Group, which will become your largest shareholder. Amazing news. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Like all things, it didn't happen overnight, although sometimes it feels like it when you're literally working on news releases overnight. Yeah, huge news for us.
Excellent. And whilst you're here at the Mines and Money event, you're participating in a Dragon's Den or Shark Tank for our North American viewers, pitch battle with other companies. But I imagine that's nothing compared to the real one you've just come out of successfully in Switzerland with the Lundin Group. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was in Geneva yesterday, and you know, yesterday the show was going on, but I canceled all my meetings. I flew to Geneva in the morning, had a meeting with the family and some advisors that day, and then flew back in the evening. And yeah, they had been to site, we had been in discussions. I mean, serious discussions for probably 3 months. So it wasn't like we've never heard of you, pitch us on this. It was very much like, okay, let's go over the details and go through it. But it's intense, right? Like even when you know the people in the room, and a few of them, like Jack and Adam, I know pretty well, and some of the members of the family were new to me, but very friendly and very good people. But at the same time, there's like, between them and their advisors, there's like 11 of them, and there's you, right? And so it's definitely, you know, tests the the strength of your story and your ability to deliver.
Nerves of steel.
Yeah.
Now, you've got the McMillan Pass Zinc project and the Mactung Tungsten project in Yukon in Canada. What is, you know, the Lundin Group is perhaps more well known for being in the oil and gas business, for being in the copper business, for being in the gold business. What's their sort of real interest in Fireweed?
I think, you know, they weren't really looking at this as a, you know, Lundin Group company or for one of the existing companies. I think what they saw as the project evolved over time, a similar thing to see, like, for example, they're seeing evolving at like a Filo, right? Like this is a best in class, you know, exploration development play. Like there's just not a project like this out there. So as it continued to evolve, I think, you know, they took a look at it, and relationship with me and our chairman, John Robbins, thought, well, like, we should be involved in this, right? Like, because this is, you know, as you know, Adam described it, like, this is a potentially generational asset, right? So that led to, you know, increased discussions, and, you know, so for now they're a financial backer, right? And I think they like the quality of the asset, and for us, you know, the great thing is not, look, it's great to have someone write a $20 million check for you. That's absolutely fantastic. But it's also great to have someone who can open doors for you that maybe you couldn't get open before. You know, you might be getting screened by, you know, some low-level geologist trying to talk to a big major, and they can get you a meeting with the CEO, right? So that access and their following is going to be massive for us.
I imagine it's certainly going to put a lot more eyeballs on the company and its projects. Yeah,
well, you know, we announced 27 million for the financing yesterday. Just 20 minutes ago, announced we were upsizing it to 35. There was orders so far beyond that, like well over 50 million. And so we had to cut. It was existing shareholders generally got a fill, maybe not the entire fill, but a fill, and new shareholders potentially, you know, got an allotment, but definitely not everything they were looking for. So we tried to be fair about it, but I think it's going to leave a lot of pent-up demand.
Well, hopefully some of that will transfer into market action, buying in the secondary market. Now, you mentioned John Robbins. John Robbins is also the founder of the Discovery Group, which is our sponsor here at Mines and Money. So congratulations to John and the Discovery Group. What was his reaction when you told him about the financing? I imagine you got on the phone to him, maybe Jim Patterson, the other co-founder of Discovery Group. What was their reaction?
Well, you know, John kind of saw it coming. So, you know, I had been engaged with particularly Adam Lundin for years, and things got a little more interesting in September, which led to a site visit in early October, and John came on that. Right, so he has an existing relationship with them through Bluestone, and so it was Jim basically found out this morning, because he's not formally involved with Fireweed. He kind of found out when the rest of the market did and was like blown away, right? But John, I think, and credit to him, it's great as a first-time CEO having a chairman like that who's such a veteran that you can because I'm throwing out wild ideas and he can be like, yes, yes, no, no, and having that person who's been through it all and is like try this, try that, encouraging you and that sort of thing, I think is such a difference maker in getting this over the line. And with a family like that, having that pre-existing relationship is also, incredibly important.
Thank you. Now, I think a really critical thing or a key thing here, we're in a very difficult financial market for the juniors, and we're seeing an increasing amount of 1 million, 2 million raises, survival raises. Yeah. So bringing in sort of more than $30 million is key, and it says to me, in particular with the Lundins taking $20 million, they really want to finance you to get to the next stage or through the next set of gateposts. Yeah. So that being said, McMillan Pass, the zinc project, Mactung, the tungsten project, what are you going to spend the money on?
Well, so we had our biggest ever drill program 2022. We're hoping to double that next year. So we're going to be extremely busy planning and executing that drill program. Now, also, in the next bit, we're expecting resource updates on both projects. We're looking to progress towards economic studies on both projects in time, particularly with a few more trade-offs done. It is between, and during all this, we've still got 30 holes from last year outstanding, right? So this is like the next 15 months is crazy in terms of catalysts. But really what it came down to is after the site visit, a good talk, with Adam and saying he wanted to see what does an unconstrained program look like? Because he saw this amazing project that had always been really, for a project of that size, capital starved. Like you would think, we spent $10 million this year, and you think oh, that's a lot of money. But the Hollywood problem of a really big project is that it needs a lot of money, right? So he just felt like this thing deserves more. So it was really how do we get a more or less capital unconstrained program going?
I think an interesting thing from what you're saying there is this is perhaps the first time that Jack's obviously sort of stepping up to the plate in a big way. His father Lucas passed away earlier this year, so I think it's perhaps one of the first times that the new generation, the current generation of Lundin brothers, is really sort of stepping up and calling the shots. Yeah. Well,
we deal closest with Jack through Bluestone and Adam, all the brothers, and I had a chance to meet Will and Harry yesterday. Seem to be very much stepping up, and then you've got the senior statesmen as well, like Ian Lundin, who's still very much involved, right? So I think as that the passing of Lucas Lundin way too early and very sad, but I think this family legacy is so strong and still so ongoing, right? I think the brothers, credit to their father that managed to raise some pretty humble and down-to-earth boys, considering the means of the family. So I think they're hungry to make something happen, and I think this is the start of a whole bunch you'll see out of them.
Well, thank you. I know you're hungry to make something happen as well. So with a bigger double drilling program next year, a lot going on, what are the key goals for next year? Where do you want to be in 12 months' time?
I think 12 months' time, of course, we'll still be waiting on assays from next year, because that's the way it works, right? But I think that we've always been I think everyone's kind of thought oh, it's a great project. We've always been flirting with that market darling status, never achieving it. You think of a Great Bear Filo that they kind of just finally got its due and skyrocketed, never looked back. I'm hoping, just to be cynical and be about market, I kind of hope that's what happens here, that we finally get our due and the recognition for how great a project it is and how hard our team has worked on it. Because that would be such a vindication, right?
Well, thank you. Now, a lot of our viewers are perhaps not very familiar with zinc and tungsten, so maybe to close, you can give us a bit of a market outlook. Where are those metals today, and what do you expect them to do next year?
Sure, I'll start with the more niche metal, tungsten. And what's the price going to do? Look, it's not exchange traded. It's sort of a reported market, based on a reporter at a metal bulletin or something like that, phoning people around. I don't think the price has moved for 6 months. right? Because it's just everyone's on long-term contracts. The thing about tungsten to understand is it's 85% of it is produced in China. So they very much have a stranglehold on that market. It is a market that the Western governments would love to liberate from that stranglehold. And a project like this, being such a freakish outlier in the tungsten world in terms of size and grade, has a potential to really help, separate us or decouple the tungsten demand in the West from that Chinese supply, which I think is critical. So that's interesting to look for. Like, you can't watch the tungsten price really, but you can watch how serious governments are taking critical minerals. And I think they're taking it more and more seriously. On the zinc market, short term still driven by power prices in Europe. Like, as long as those smelters are shuttered, there's a constraint on smelter supply. Physical metal prices will be very high. The inventories will continue to drop, but I think we're going to see very high treatment charges as well. So
with the smelters in Europe, it's electricity prices got too high, so they basically shut them down while the Ukraine crisis and the energy crisis coming from that continues.
Yeah, so the smelters like Teck smelter in British Columbia, hydro-powered, Boliden smelter in Norway, which is hydro-powered. Smelters like that have access to cheap, renewable power are going to absolutely clean up in the coming years until the situation...
In terms of money?
Yeah. The smelter's cleaning up. Well, you hope they are cleaning up, but they'll be doing very well, right? And when will the situation in Europe normalize? It's anyone's guess.
Well, congratulations on the financing. Great news. Brandon Macdonald, President and CEO of Fireweed Metals.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of Resourcing Tomorrow is brought to you by Discovery Group.